Welcome to Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky with my first guest, Ben Orr. Ben, can you tell me about your childhood in Glenview?
So I went to Glenbrook South in '98, graduated 2002. I was involved in a lot of different activities as a child, from AYSO soccer, Boy Scouts out of Glenview Community Church, Troop 156. During my junior high and high school years, I was pretty active with Glenview Community Church and the youth services that were over there. Went on a lot of mission trips down to Mississippi, Back Bay Mission. So I was pretty active in the Glenview area as a youth and growing up.
Can you tell me, how did the Boy Scouts bring leadership skills and scholarship opportunities to you later on?
Yeah, so I was heavily involved in the Boy Scouts throughout my childhood. Attained Eagle Scout on my 18th birthday, right before the cutoff. While I was involved in Troop 156, I held numerous positions, from patrol leader, quartermaster, assistant patrol leader, and they all really helped, grow you as a leader. How to lead people, how to be accountable for actions, holding yourself accountable for things that needed to get done, besides just the schoolwork. So it was a great opportunity. I really enjoyed my time with the Boy Scouts. I did a lot of different things with them. I went to National Jamboree. I went to Sea Base, which is down in Florida. I was a camp counselor for a number of years at their Makajuan camp, which is up in Wisconsin. And then later on in my career with Boy Scouts, I got involved with an Explorer Post program out of Niles for the fire department. And through that, really drove my desire to be a fireman. Boy Scouts was always about giving back, community involvement, helping other people, and the fire department was kind of like just that epitome of giving back, and being part of the community.
That's great.
And Niles, the guys that were there, the leaders that were there, really just instilled that what a fire department should be. And being involved in that Explorer program at the age, I started when I was 14. I left when I was 18. Went off to do my own career, but everything I learned from that really reflects heavily on my career now and everything that I do.
Great. When did you decide, what age, at 18, you decided to explore firefighting and fell in love with it?
So when I was in the Boy Scouts, a lot of the older scouts, because you emulate a lot of the older scouts, and because it's boy-led, so they always try to push the boys to be the leaders and to be the shining examples. And so when I was younger in Boy Scouts, I envied, I looked up to the older scouts, and a lot of them were getting into the fire service. A lot of them were, aging out of Boy Scouts, and they were going to fire sciences in college and getting hired on at fire departments. And so that kind of drove me into it. I was like, oh, it looks like an interesting thing. I kind of want to get into it. And at the time, Boy Scouts was just, the exploring program was huge with Boy Scouts for a long time, but the Niles program was just getting started. So when I was 14, I got involved with that, kind of when it was just starting off, and stayed really heavily active throughout my teenage years with the Boy Scout, through the Explorer program.
Oh, great. Do the Boy Scouts give scholarship opportunities for kids, or just in general, for university-bound kids?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I know of. I think they do. I was not eligible for any of them.
Oh, no.
But I'm sure they do, and I'm sure that there's programs that through the Boy Scouts, open up doors for scholarships. My daughter was recently involved in an FBI Explorer program down at Chicago FBI headquarters, and I know that there are scholarships through that. But I think it's very organizational driven, but I'm not 100% sure. But through the Explorer Post program with Niles, they did sponsor me to go to paramedic school, because at that time you had to be with a fire department or work for a private ambulance company. Someone had to sponsor you to go to paramedic school. And while they didn't pay for it, I still had to pay for it. They secured the seat, and they provided the preceptors for me so that I could do my ride time and get my paramedic license through them.
That's awesome. Where did you go to college for your paramedic license, or was this a separate school?
So I started off, when I graduated high school, I went to Oakton Community College for a couple semesters studying fire sciences. And then through the Explorer Post program, I went to St. Francis Hospital for the paramedic program. The paramedic program, so I started out with EMT at Oakton Community College, and then once I got that done, then I transferred over to St. Francis and I got my paramedic license. That was about a year. And then at that point, I was all gung-ho to get a job because, you know, I had been in school for so long and not making any money, and I really enjoy working. And so as soon as I got my paramedic license, I went right out into the field and started working for private ambulance companies. I worked for a lot of different ones, including Air Methods for a short stint, Superior, Air Ground. I did critical care for a number of years with them. And then finally landing at my full-time job now, which is North Lake Fire Protection District.
And then how did you see, like, during the COVID period, like the paramedic like situation, or even health sciences like changing?
So COVID changed a lot of things.
Yes.
You know, so this September I will have been a paramedic for 20 years. I got my paramedic license in 2003, and COVID changed so much. You know, there were so many unknowns when we first went into it, and you know, we had been a part of a lot of other pandemics and a lot of other things in the past. You know, there's the Ebola scare. You know, we're always dealing with like Acinetobacter and VRE and all these other MRSA, all these other diseases that go around nursing homes and the hospitals that we're at. But COVID was just a lot of unknowns. Yes. You know, and when it first happened, you know, they made a massive deal about it. Mm-hmm. And so when you're in the public health arena, and you're given very little information, you know, you have to kind of go with the flow and go with what they're saying. And so at the very beginning, you know, we were treating every single patient like they were positive, that they were infectious, and we were wearing hazmat suits, and not the, you know, full-blown spacewalking ones, but, you know, like Tyvek suits, you know, gowns, masks. We were wearing CBRN masks for a while because we ran out of N95s. Yeah. You know, so it was, in hindsight, it was a bit excessive, but at the time, like, we didn't know.
It was like 2 years, it
was a long time.
3 years, yeah.
And it got hot during the summer when you're going on calls for, you know, a cough or sniffles, and you're wearing, you know, you're spending all this time gowning up and protecting yourself. And you know, in hindsight, it was overreaction, but at the time, you didn't know. You didn't know how bad it was going to be. You know, they on the television and everything that we were getting was that it was this terrible disease and this and that. And you know, we definitely took patients that were very sick, and you know, but those were the few and far between. So, you know, a large majority of the people that we took that ended up being positive were flu-like symptoms. You know, but again, at the time, you just didn't know, and so because of that, you found a lot of people getting burned out. You know, it was a lot of work to go through, and the hospitals were getting overrun because, you know, they were running out of beds and they were short-staffed, and a lot of nurses, a lot of paramedics didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah. You know, so there was a Fox News special not too long ago, and in 2019 they said there was 33,000 paramedics in 2019 before the pandemic, and as of 2021 there was only 8,800. Give or take a few. I'm going off of memory, so I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but I do remember that it was a third of what we had going into the pandemic. And so during the pandemic, we lost a tremendous number of EMTs and paramedics from the field that either left Illinois, and this is just Illinois, that either left Illinois or just got out of the field altogether. And so the issues that we're having right now is trying to replace those personnel. My fire department, for example, we've been short-staffed basically since the pandemic started. We've had guys that left through retirement, went to other fire departments, and we just can't get anyone to, you know, to hire. We've had 4 tests so far. We finally just hired 2 guys, but we're still short 1 guy.
Oh, wow.
So for this entire time, not only are we dealing with the pandemic, you know, and it's not just us, you know, I'm sure Glenview's the same way, Northbrook, you know, all the other departments. You look online at all these places, you know, they have a couple websites where they list departments that are hiring, and every single department around the area is hiring numerous firefighters and paramedics. So it's, you know, it's just interesting. And I know talking to nurses in the ERs and on the floors, you know, they're all short-staffed too. A lot of nurses ended up leaving their full-time jobs to go do agency work, where they could go anywhere and make 3 or 4 times as much money. You know, I know a bunch of paramedics that did the same thing, you know, and they're loving it. You know, they'll go out to California for a month or 2, or Texas, or whatever they want to go. You know, the sky's the limit. And so, I mean, that opens up a lot of doors because it's just a shortage of healthcare workers nationwide.
And when did you start going to disaster training, the Team Tricon?
Team Rubicon.
Rubicon.
So I started with Team Rubicon in 2014. So when I was young, when I was getting out of high school, I've always had like a side job, side career.
Oh.
And one of the things I did was tree care for a little while. And so I learned how to, cut down trees, rig down trees. I worked for a number of companies in the area, doing tree care work, stuff like that. And so in 2014, I had the job as the fire department. I had my side job, but I wanted something else, something volunteer. Red Cross really didn't appeal to me. My dad did Red Cross. And there were a couple of other volunteer organizations that it really didn't do what I wanted to do. I wanted something physical. I wanted to be able to go to where a disaster was and physically help. Help them clean up, rebuild a house, help them take down trees, or clean up the mess that was going on there. Not just like hand out water or get them cots. I wanted something more physical. And so when the Washington, Illinois tornado hit in 2014, I went down there to go help, and I saw a bunch of people walking around with gray shirts with the Team Rubicon logo on it, doing exactly what I was looking to do. And so I joined shortly after, and I've been heavily involved with them ever since. I am currently a RCI2, which is a regional chainsaw instructor too. So it's the highest level of instructor in Team Rubicon. I travel all over the Midwest teaching new volunteers how to properly use chainsaws, how to keep themselves safe, how to take down trees safely, how to mitigate a lot of the risks that are involved with storm damaged trees. So Team Rubicon is an international organization. They go to operations all over the place. Some of the biggest operations they have are on the south, Texas, Florida, with the hurricanes that happen. With my full-time job and with the business, it's hard for me to take a lot of time off to go do those, because you have to give either a week to 2 weeks for them to be able to afford the flight for you down there. And so I can't really participate in that. And we don't have a whole lot of, we are recently getting more and more storms up here, but the tornadoes up here are hit and miss.
Yes.
If there's been a tornado in Illinois and there's been an operation, I've been involved with it somehow. I've been to Fairdale, Kirkland, and Downers Grove recently. There's the one in Naperville that happened in 2021. Been out to Iowa for a number of storms, in Wisconsin. But the bigger ones are down south. And so since I can't participate in those, I really enjoy doing the teaching aspect of it and really the mentoring aspect of it. So a lot of the volunteers that join Team Rubicon are ex-military. They're coming out and they're trying to find something to do with society. And they have that survival nature. They want to give back. They want to help. They want to do something, but they just don't know how to. And so I help train them to, help go out there and mitigate the trees for people that would not be able to afford this, had we not come and done it. A lot of times these storm damaged trees, the insurance company, the tree care companies go in there and it'll be tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, those big
It's
trees.
it's
Yeah,
very
it's
expensive.
tough.
And so we go in there and we do what we can for free, and we'll help them. And it's just a great feeling. It's great to give back. And so since I can't go down south and do that for a long period of times, I'll stay up here and train people the best that I can. And I feel like that's my way of contributing.
And when did you start your business in Glenview?
So I started back when I was in high school, really. I started with snow removal. I had a couple neighbors that I'd plow snow for. I cut the grass for them. And then eventually it led into holiday lighting. And so that's really, holiday lighting has been the longest running part of my business. As a fireman, you work 24 hours, you have 48 hours off. So I've always had a lot of downtime. And I'm not a person that can sit still. I like to move. I like to do things. I like to work. Physically, I like to do things.
Yeah.
And so I would do side jobs, and eventually it got to a point where I had so many customers and so much work that I had to start hiring employees to do the work for me while I was at the firehouse, or to continue the work while I was gone. And so over the years, we just kept growing and growing and growing naturally, and now I have 9 full-time employees. We're based right here out of Glenview. We've always been out of Glenview. I hopefully won't ever leave Glenview,
Great.
but I was born and raised here. I have the connection here. We do a lot of work in Glenview. The majority of our holiday lighting customers are in Glenview. I have over 100 homes that we do in Glenview itself.
That's interesting. What type of technology is just power washing? Have you done like the Allstate building and like one of those like big?
Yeah, so in 2016 we got into rope access, working on tall buildings. So the biggest job that we've done to date for pressure washing was the Allstate campus. It took us 2 years to complete. So it's kind of sad seeing it get knocked down right now because it was all that hard work that we were there for 2 years, numerous months, and a lot of hard work. But me and a bunch of the employees at the time, we all went through SPRAT training, which is rope access training. And so when you're pressure washing a 12-story building, you can't always just use a lift to get you up there. Sometimes it's safer to hang from a rope and do the pressure washing that way. So we invested a lot of time and energy training our staff, myself included, so that we could do that safely. Especially Allstate being an insurance company, they wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure that the training was legit. We couldn't just jump over the side of the building with a rope. So there was quite a bit of training that went involved with that, and a lot of very expensive equipment that we had to purchase for that. Since starting, when I first started out the pressure washing company, I started with a pressure washer I got from Home Depot. I didn't know any better. I just, I'll start pressure washing, and then we wand everything. Since then, now I have 4 trucks, and the trucks all have, they're truck-mounted pressure washers. So they're very heavy duty. They have boilers on them so we can get the water up to 220 degrees. And so for a lot of times, if we can't use chemicals to clean something, we can use hot water that'll do the same thing. And it's all very expensive, so it's, there's a lot to pressure washing besides just going to Home Depot and buying a pressure washer. A lot of it is knowing the substrate that you're trying to clean and knowing what that can take pressure-wise, because you can't just blast everything with high pressure. So sometimes we clean with chemicals with a very low pressure, and sometimes we have to use high pressure. But a lot of it goes into training of knowing, identifying what you're trying to clean, identify what you're trying to remove, and then using the best industry practices for doing that without damaging the environment. Because you can throw chemicals at everything, but that doesn't mean that it's good for the environment. So we want to make sure that we're being good stewards of the environment and that we're using the right process to clean this while not harming anything and not damaging the structure itself.
Yes. And how many employees do you have, like in the Glenview area, doing construction, landscape, lighting, and power washing?
So I have 9 full-time employees. I have a sales manager, office staff, and then I have an operations manager who runs the show for me while I'm gone, who's amazing. Because of our slow growth throughout the years, this isn't something I just got a ton of money for and we just went out and bought trucks and all the equipment. This has been something that's been a very slow and steady growth for the company. And so through the years, I've really been able to be very selective with the employees that I have, especially with the fact that I work 24/48, so I'm gone every 3rd day. I really need to have employees that work for me that I can trust and count on. Professionalism that can do the right thing. And so because of that slow, steady growth, I've really been able to cultivate a culture of professionalism with my guys. They're very trustworthy. Before they're able to run a truck or to go out in a customer's house, they have to work for so many years for me. They have to prove competence, and just because of that, I have an excellent group of guys.
Servitude and loyalship.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
And when do you plan to retire from being a firefighter?
Well, if the cards play out right, my 20-year will be coming up in 2028. But that all kind of depends on my children, my wife, and how all that plays out. I'd love to say that I do my 20 years and then I'm out of the fire service and I can go off and do other things. But, there's so many unknowns today, that I don't know where I'm going to be. I'd love to leave after 20 years, but I'll address it when that comes. I still love my job. I still say that being a fireman is the best job in the world. Every day you get to go in and get paid to help people. And while I can do that with Team Rubicon for free, and there's a certain feeling that goes along with, doing something for someone, knowing that they'll never pay you back, that you're not doing it for money, you know, that you're there to help people. At the same time, the fact that I can still do that and make a living, you know, it just makes it that much better. So.
And do you have any advice for parents trying to get their kids into community colleges for EMT, paramedics? Like, how important is that associate STEM?
So encourage, if your child wants to go into the fire sciences or healthcare, it is a very stable career. Right now, like I was saying, we are short-staffed. Every department in the area is short-staffed. Every department in the nation is short-staffed. So if you have any interest in getting into healthcare, being a paramedic, being a firefighter, now is the time. I would say that commitment to servitude, you know, you want trustworthy individuals, you want people that are going to be willing to give back. You're not doing this for a paycheck. Well, the pay is good.
Substantial, yeah. No.
I mean, but at the same time, you look at everything that we have to do. We're away from our families for 24 hours. You know, the hours that we work are tremendous. We're working holidays. We're working out in freezing cold in the heat. You know, there's no days off for us. You know, so it can be dangerous. You know, we have over my career we've had a number of very dangerous situations. Accidents, you know, that we have to mitigate. Yes. You know, you think about it. You're going in, much like the police. You're going into a situation where everyone's leaving, and you have to go in there and mitigate it. And so a lot of times you're doing this with little sleep. You know, and a lot of departments you're doing it with little funding. You know, so you may be dealing with equipment that's old, beaten down, you know, so the pay I would say is commensurate with what you have to put into it.
Yes.
But it's a stable career, you know, like Glenview's just not going to get rid of their fire department. You need a fire department, you need a police department, you need nurses, you need doctors, you need health care. We're not going to get replaced by AI. You know, like we're going to be there.
Artificial everything.
Yeah, so it's a stable career and it's a good career. You know, it's something to be commendable if they want to go into that. You don't need to go to an Ivy League college to go. The best thing is, you know, like I said, there are Explorer programs that kids can join as soon as they're 14. There are cadet programs if they don't have an Explorer program nearby. So I would encourage them that if there's any interest in that, to join one of those programs and really see if it's something that they're interested in doing. And not just the fire department, but police departments have the same programs that they can join into, which you don't have with a lot of other careers, where you really get this, you know, in-person experience of what it's like to do the job before you commit to college, you know, whereas a lot of other jobs, like you have to go to college first and then you go out into the workforce. Now that you've paid for a degree, and now you realize, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah, what do I do with myself now? I'm kind of stuck here. So I would encourage them to go out and seek those programs that they can really see if it's something for them. And if it is, then go get your, if you want to go the fire department route, you want to become a paramedic, go get your EMT, go to a community college and start learning about fire sciences, get your fire science degree. I used to say that you would need a bachelor's or an associate's, you know, but we are every department, like I said, is so short-staffed right now that, you know, most of them have been dropping those requirements. Just get your paramedic license and you can write your ticket anywhere in the country.
Oh, great. And then how did you like high school, like sciences? Like, especially as a parent and a student in the Glenview area, like, do you think they did a good job preparing you to get into that degree program?
So growing up, I had my own problems in high school and junior high. You know, I was kind of coming of age when ADD was just kind of becoming a thing. So unfortunately labeled as a behavioral issue versus an educational issue, which it is now. And so high school wasn't really enjoyable for me. But the extracurricular activities that I did in high school, especially with GBS, the opportunities that I was allotted through band, stage crew, you know, the television that they had at Glenview at GBS, the autos program, woodworking program, you know, they were phenomenal, you know, and a lot of those really helped. The stage crew, a lot of the lighting stuff that I learned from that, I employ right now with my holiday lighting stuff. You know, we do Cole Children's Museum and Lightscapes at the Botanic Gardens as a holiday lighting company. And we do a lot of stage lighting that is involved with that. So I'm still using that today. I'm not so much involved in a band anymore, but I still love music.
Great.
But I mean, the schools we have around here, the high school, I mean, there's so many opportunities that it would be a shame not to take advantage of them. you know.
Thank you, Ben, for your biography and like your civic work around the area.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching Real People, Real Matters. This is Diana Tulchinsky with Ben Orr.